Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to England once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a good couple of times before. I think I've done maybe 12 or so reviews involving this brewery, but this one will be my 6th or so dedicated review to the brewery actually. But they're very highly regarded, mainly known for their hazy New England IPAs, and they do some pretty damn good beers in my experience. The hype that these guys have is quite well justified in my experience. But for this one then, we are going to go down to Cornwall. These guys are originally from Falmouth but now based in Penryn, and we're going to have a look at another beer from Verdant Brewing Company. So this one is called the Random Rules. It comes in at 6.5% ABV, and this one is another New England hazy style IPA. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. Hopefully it's another interesting beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, the last beer that I reviewed from Verdant was the Neil Gets Things Done. That was very kindly given to me by my friend Adam over at Mersey Beers, and yeah, that was a great beer actually. But Verdant have been doing a lot of collaborations with different Scandinavian breweries, the Danish ones and the Swedish ones that I have easy access to, and I think they have done a few with different Norwegian breweries as well, come to think of it. But yeah, it's always nice to do a dedicated review to these guys because they've got some great beers. They are pretty damn prolific, and as I said, they've really made their name when it comes to these hazy New England style IPAs. So I think for the next beer that I have from Verdant, I need to see if I can try something that's a slightly different style, but I'm not sure if they've done too many of those, to be honest with you. But yeah, very good brewery, as I said, based on my previous experiences, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one. The Random Rules New England Hazy IPA at 6.5% ABV from Verdant Brewing Company, originally Falmouth but now Penryn in Cornwall. So let's see how we get on. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Verdant Brewing Company before, and you will no doubt see more added to that list in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to quite regularly at the moment because I am at home in the motherland of Scotland and reviewing all these beers from Trembling Madness, and we are also getting a fairly steady supply of English beers through Systembolaget now, which is great, back over in Sweden. So you will see English beers reviewed fairly regularly actually too. But yeah, as always, if you have some recommendations, don't hesitate to get in touch. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Verdant Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So Verdant Brewing, as I've told you already, were originally based in Falmouth and Cornwall, and they were founded back in 2014 by Adam Robertson and James Heffron, and they were joined in the very early stages by Rich White. So Adam was a designer by trade, and James had been a home brewer for a number of years, while Rich was actually an electrician who helped them build the first brewery, and he joined as a partner. So they ordered their brewing equipment in 2014, and they started brewing their beers early on the following year, and initially they struggled to get their beers recognised in Cornwall because of the traditional beer culture that's there, and that's something that I do need to explore a little bit. I've never reviewed any kind of traditional Cornish ales as far as I can remember, so if you are watching from Cornwall, do give me some of those recommendations in the comment section below. That would be great to hear about that, because I would be very curious. But yeah, despite not getting so much recognition in Cornwall initially, their beers proved to be a hit in other parts of the country. They were based for a long time in the Tregenigi industrial estate in the west of the city, and this brewery was eventually upgraded to have a 16 hectolitre system with a weekly brew capacity of 8,000 litres. Later they opened up their restaurant and bar on Key Street in 2018, and there's a lot of seafood and things there, and they did this as a result of a crowdfunding campaign. And very recently they've opened up a new brewery in Penryn, which is fitted with a 35 hectolitre brewing system, and they are going to get their beers out there a lot more on the back of that. But as of January 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced around 60 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd. And yeah, they do some very nice stuff. I think it's actually maybe 65 if I remember the number rightly, but yeah, about 65 different kinds of beer so far have come out of Verdant Brewing Company, and they've got some really great stuff in there. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Verdant Brewing Company for the moment. I really good English brewery in my experience. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. And if you do want to see more regular reviews from Verdant Brewing Company, do make sure you check out my friends in the English beer tubing scene. Craig at Kent Beer Reviews, Jake at J. Cole Beer, we've got Beardy Brett as well. Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews is probably the closest beer tuber I know to these guys. You've got Peter the Clueless Drinker in Skem near Manchester and Liverpool. You've got Adam at Mersey Beers in Liverpool. Rob Hopsine, who I forget exactly what town, he's close to York though. You've got Ginger Ale Ale Trail in Bradford, and then you've got Christoph up in Newcastle, and now there's Greg Bullman at Bullman's Beer Reviews in Carlisle. So there's quite a few English beer tubers all over the place actually. So yeah, as I say, fingers crossed we can do a little tour of England actually and go and visit all of these guys at some stage. So yeah, that would definitely be something that we can look at hopefully in August or September of next year. But yeah, if you want to see more regular Verdant reviews, do make sure you go and check these guys out. But yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So yeah, this one, artwork on it is pretty cool actually. I actually thought when I bought this beer, I knew I wanted something from Verdant, so I literally went in and picked the one that had the nicest artwork or the name that I most liked, and I just liked this one, you know, Random Rules. I thought this was going to be poking fun at the British government and things, just because they have been, you know, pretty useless over this whole corona pandemic thing. But yeah, I thought that's what it was all about. But apparently this beer is actually a tribute to a guy called David Berman, who was one of the members, I think he was the main man actually, of an American rock band called the Silver Jews. So yeah, apparently he died in 2019. So yeah, apparently this is a tribute beer to them. But it says on the front here, I know you like to dance. Everything's so democratic and cool, but baby, there's no guidance when random rules. But yeah, I guess that's a lyric from one of the songs there. But yeah, I read about him a little bit, and apparently he got into bad debt and hung himself in his apartment. So yeah, big problem amongst men these days, I guess, is that they're not. Yeah, it's a big problem is male mental health actually. So yeah, as I say, if you have issues, don't be scared to talk to somebody. It's a very serious thing these days, unfortunately, and that seems to be what happened to David Berman, unfortunately. So yeah, sad times. But yeah, a nice tribute I guess that Verdant have done to him. Random Rules, 6.5% ABV, New England IPA. It says this one has had Simcoe added as the early edition hop, and then in the dry hop, the late edition hops, it's got Nelson Sauvin, Citra and Enigma. So Simcoe, we know we will get quite a nice spicy bitterness out of this beer, I'm sure, because this is the early edition hops. Simcoe has a surprising bitterness to it if you use it as an early edition. Nelson Sauvin, lovely New Zealand hop, lots of big green, white, grapey sort of things. Citra, we know, mangoes, lots of little complexities, American hop. And then Enigma is a hop that I really like, but you don't come across all that often. Quite similar to Nelson Sauvin, but a little bit more oily, I think, more gooseberry-like, and it's got some lovely kind of red fruity characters to it as well. Australian hop there. But yeah, it's 440ml can, this one. I can't remember exactly what I paid for this, about £5-6, something like that. So yeah, maybe about €7, about, you know, maybe 60 Swedish kroner, 70 Swedish kroner, something like that, just for those of you who want a price comparison. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. In a 6.5% New England IPA, and I think this one is going to be pretty damn special. So let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. Do enjoy the Verdant beers, so it's always nice to have something from these guys when I do make it home. But yeah, there we go. So yeah, we've got most of it in the glass there. Let me just reposition that. There we go. But yeah, as you can see and as you would expect from this one, it's poured a lovely, that's a very, very bright yellow colour, this one. I'm not sure, I think maybe the light's reflecting off it a little bit too much on the camera, but this is a very, very rich yellow, like a mango juice type colour. As you'll know if you've watched the channel for any length of time, I love comparing these New England Hazy IPAs to different fruit juices. There's a solid finger or so of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But I mean, overall, there's nothing surprising about the appearance of this one when you consider what style it is. But yeah, if I stick my fingers behind the glass, This one you can see, this one is pretty damn hazy. You know, for a 6.5%, that is a pretty impressive level of haze. Some of them can be remarkably kind of clear almost, if you like, for a New England IPA, but this is definitely one of the kind of more soupy, gloopy looking ones that I've come across in recent times. Remember, colour of your beer is dependent on two things. One, the type of malts that you use, and two, the length of the boil. The longer you boil the beer, the more the sugars caramelise, and the more the sugars caramelise, and then you get a darker colour out of it normally. But this one is a nice, rich yellow colour. Certainly looks the part. As I say, nothing overly surprising about this beer when you consider what style it is. Looks great. Let's have a go at this one and see how we go. But yeah, the haziness of these beers, remember, higher you go up the alcohol scale, more oats, more wheat, theoretically speaking, you should get more haziness. But for 6.5%, nice level of haze. But let's check out the aroma on this one and see how we get on. Ooh, that's quite interesting. This one definitely has a little bit more of a kind of yeasty component to it for sure. Yeah, that is quite nice. Does it say what yeast is in this? It's got a little bit of a farmhousey vibe to it, this one. No, it doesn't. Okay. I would guess that Verdant, with the size of them these days, they're probably using kind of house grown or house bred yeast, whatever you want to say. But yeah, this one comes across really nicely. Straight off with this one, for me, it's white bread. This one, it's got a little bit of a white bready sort of thing to it. There is a wee touch of that kind of farmhousey, woody sort of thing kind of sitting underneath this one. So I think the yeast is playing a role in here. That's quite interesting. But yeah, it is nice, that actually. When you smell it a little bit more deeply, you start to get, you can get more of the wheat out of this one. Does this have oats? Does it say? Yeah, it does have oats and wheat in it. Just amazes me, you know, you get these same ingredients in different ratios can really, and even different yeasts can just affect the flavour actually and the aroma so much. And I had it in another beer that I reviewed from the same box quite recently. It smelt very oaty, but then it was a lot more balanced in the flavour actually. But this one definitely smells a little bit more kind of yeasty and wheaty leaning, I would say. You do get a little bit of that nice bitey wheat, and you can smell the thickness of the wheat in this one, but you also get a few kind of woody, farmhousey type notes out of this one, which is quite interesting. There is a little bit of a kind of crisp white bready character. That's the thing that hits you straight away with this beer when you take it in. There's a nice little bit of kind of Werther's original brown sugar type thing going on with this one, which is quite nice again. But yeah, the aroma on the malty side of things here is very nice. It strikes me as a little bit more old school, you know, bready, wheaty, and a bit of the, you do get a bit of the oats the more that you smell of this beer, to be honest with you. So I do like that about this one. It strikes me as being a little bit more old school. I would compare this to the likes of Narangi and the GBG Beer Week beer, OO Brewing and Stig Bergets respectively, over in Sweden. You know, 6.5% is the standard for a Swedish New England IPA these days. Yeah, 6.5% roughly is what you'll get from Stig Bergets and from OO, generally speaking. But yeah, the malty side of this one is really quite nice. But I think the yeast is playing a bit more of a role here. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, green component. There is a little bit of earthiness to this one. You've got a little bit of floral aromaticity out of this one, not too much, and a nice little bit of lighter kind of grassiness coming out of the beer as well. But yeah, I really like how this one goes together. The way that everything goes together in this beer, I think, is on the green side of things is quite nice. It's got lighter grassiness to it, but I think the floral aromaticity, it strikes me as quite a deep floral aromaticity, not spicy, not resinous, just quite almost deep and just lingering there. But a little bit of earthiness, a little bit of grassiness, as I said. But the green component for me is more, yeah, the green component for me is more, how do you say, it is more just more floral and aromatic rather than anything. A nice deep floral aromaticity. I think that's a good way to summarise this one. But Simcoe, remember, as I said, if you use that as an early addition top, it can have a hell of a spice to it. It's about 11-12% alpha acid. The other ones, Nelson Sauvin can be 16, Citra can be 13 to 14, and I think Enigma is about 14% alpha acid as well, come to think of it. But yeah, the green side of the beer fits well with everything else. On the fruity side of things, it is quite interesting. I think the fruitiness takes a bit of a back seat in this one to the yeastiness, to be honest with you. But yeah, what would we say about this? The fruitiness that comes out of this beer, I think, is you do get quite a bit of the citra out of this one. You get a bit of passion fruit, you get a bit of the mangoes that you'd expect from the citra, and I think you do get a big oily kind of white, green, grapey, gooseberry sort of thing, and that'll be coming both from the Enigma and from the Nelson Sauvin, to be honest with you. That'll come from both of them. So yeah, there is a wee bit of a kind of cranberry. I don't know, cranberry's not right. It's got a wee bit of an almost like figgy, just very slightly red fruity note to it, but it's quite hard to detect that, to be honest with you. For me, in all honesty, the green and white grapey notes that you'd expect from both Enigma and Nelson Sauvin, they really take a back seat in this one to the citra and the yeastiness. So yeah, you really have to search for the fruits in this beer a little bit. Yeah, it's quite, even if you sugar it up, even if you sugar it up, you still get more of the tropical notes and that pungent passion fruit from the citra. It's quite hard to get the other two out of it, to be honest with you. But yeah, you can detect a sort of oily, kind of gooseberry-ish sort of thing going on in this one, like, you know, white, green grapes, gooseberries. That's what you'd expect from the Nelson Sauvin. Yeah, I do wish that OO Brewing over in Sweden, that they do a 100 Enigma. I would love to have one of those and just get fully acquainted with that hop, actually. So that's definitely something I need to have a look at, and I need to maybe see if I can talk to them and say do that, but obviously it depends on what hops they can get. But yeah, the aroma, this one is quite interesting, maybe the quirkiest aroma I've had from Verdant so far. Take a bit of time to ponder it over, but we're going to taste this beer now and see how we get on. This one is the Random Rules 6.5% New England IPA from Verdant Brewing Company, originally in Falmouth, now in Penryn in Cornwall, down in the southwest of England. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Ooh, now that is different. First impression, quite an oily New England IPA. Bit of slickness and a bit of oiliness to it, this one. That's the first impression. Oh yeah. Now, what I'm going to say is this one is quite unusual. This one is quite unusual, but I like it. Certainly do. It's got a real... The Enigma and the Nelson Sauvin really come out more in the flavour of this one, and it works. It really, really does work. It's almost there's a lot of it really is a big gooseberry hit, this beer. Absolutely, that's the first impression of it. Big gooseberry, white, green, grapey hit, big oily thing on the front of your palate. You'll notice that straight away with this one. Yeah, it's interesting that how you don't pick that up so much in the aroma, because I guess the other aromas are a little bit more pungent, but in the flavour straight away, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really, really nice beer, actually. Thumbs up to Verdant for this one. Quite different. And as I say, this is one of the things I like about dotting between the different IPA breweries, is that you can really get some very interesting quirks to a lot of these beers. So yeah, I like how this I do like how this goes together. So yeah, this one's straight up my street. I love the New Zealand hops. I love Enigma. I like the Australian hops as well. And then you've got a bit of classic American in there too, which is nice. But yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this one properly and examine it a little bit. So yeah, straight away with this beer, you're going to notice the malt base is quite nice and smooth. Straight away you get that nice kind of pale malty base that blankets the middle of the palate. The middle third of your palate is a little bit more kind of crisp almost. You get a bit of a crisper kind of white bready note there, but as you move into that back third of the palate, you can feel it's a little bit more wheaty and sort of bitey almost. I would definitely say that, a little bit more wheaty and bitey for sure. But yeah, you get a wee touch of a more kind of grainy bread on top of the wheat in the back, in the final third of your palate, but as you move, pardon me, further forward on that back third of your tongue, there's a nice smoothness to the wheat there. Then as you reach the border region between the middle and the back third of your palate, you do have a little bit of a kind of graininess to the beer actually, which is kind of interesting on that little border region. There is a wee touch of that kind of grainy bitiness to it, which is quite nice. But yeah, the wheat I think does come out a little bit more. You do get a bit of that wheat linger in there into the aftertaste. But middle third of your tongue is absolutely a kind of soft white bready note. But on top of that, as you progress further into the aftertaste, you'll get more. You'll definitely get more of a kind of oaty kind of note out of this one, yeah. So yeah, really nice oaty creaminess to this one. But yeah, I do like how this goes together. Yeah, the malt base in this one I think is nice. It has got a wee bit of wheaty bitiness in the back of it, but it develops more of an oatiness as you go further into it, and it's quite a slick. It really has a slick and smooth vibe to it, the malt base in this one, which I really quite like. Yeah, it's nice. It really is very nice, that, and it suits the kind of fruity components of the beer as well. On the hoppy side of things, there, I don't think we need to say much more about the malty side of things. You do maybe get, if you go to the front corners of your palate, then go diagonally back, you might get just a little touch of woody undertone to this beer. The yeast is playing a role in this one. I do think that the yeast is playing a little bit of a role in the flavour of this beer for sure. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it does develop a little bit more, and then you've got some nice big floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate as well, which is really quite nice. And it actually, you can feel that spicy component of Simcoe that I was talking about in this. You really feel a bit of you do feel a nice little bit of spiciness on the sides of your palate there, but as you go round the front curve of the palate, it's definitely a little bit more light and kind of grassy, which I think is very nice as well. But yeah, thumbs up to Verdant for this. The green component of this beer, the little bit of spiciness it has from the Simcoe, just gives the beer a little bit of what's the word? Diversity is not the right word. It just gives the beer a little bit of a kind of contrast almost. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Because I think if the beer didn't have that, it would just be like, it'd be very like almost gloopy, if that makes sense. You need a little bit. This is the sort of beer, when it's as smooth as it is in the malt base and when it's as oily as it is in the fruitiness, it just needs a wee touch of bitterness to it, just to, sort of ground it a little bit, if that makes sense. And so Simcoe does that quite nicely, to be honest with you. I think that's worked out quite well for the beer. But yeah, it's nice. It is nice actually. It's almost the spice that you get out of Simcoe in this beer is almost similar to what you get from Columbus in like West Coast IPAs and things. It has got a wee bit of that sort of thing to it. A lot of people don't realise that Simcoe can be spicy in this way, but it's all about when during the boil you add your hops. If you add them as an early addition hop, they'll give you that. You've got that trade-off as you go through the boil. These IPAs tend to be 70 to 80 minutes, but as you go through the boil, early on you get more bitterness out of the hop, and as you gradually go on you get more flavour and aroma, of course. There's a trade-off there. But yeah, Simcoe does its job really nicely here for me. But let's focus on that front third of your tongue and the fruitiness. So as I always say, you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. And with this one it is really interesting. So straight away at the back of that front third of your palate, you're going to get some kind of stronger sort of passion fruity notes to it, definitely. And yeah, as you come further forward there, you can feel you get more of the mango from the Citra to this one. It does, the passion fruit and the stronger passion fruit and more pungent passion fruit softens up quite quickly, but then as you move further forward, it very quickly becomes very oily on that front third of your palate, and that's where you get those, white grapey, gooseberry type notes from both the Enigma and from the Nelson Sauvin in there, which is really nice. But yeah, you get a nice, you can feel there is a little bit of a red component there, a little bit of a figgy note, a little bit of a a little bit of a figgy note, a little bit of a kind of a little bit of a figgy note, a little bit of a just, it's almost like a wee, I don't want to say strawberry, but it's not far off a candied strawberry. Enigma has that little red fruit, that little bit of red component to it, and you can feel that coming out in this beer, and it comes out just right on the tip of your palate too, which is interesting. So I really like how that goes together in this one for sure. yeah, it is really nice in that sense, how it goes together. But yeah, the fruity parts of this beer are very, very oily, and that's, I think, what just makes this beer stick out to me. So yeah, this is quite different to the other ones that I've had from Verdant before, and I really do like that Enigma Nelson Sauvin mix in this, but it's a bit difficult to detect the difference almost between the two. So maybe if you took the Simcoe and the Citra out of this, you could maybe figure it out a little bit more. But I think those two hops do definitely add their own touches to the beer, which is nice. So I want to do a single. I need to try a single hop Enigma beer at some stage and just get more familiar with that hop, so I can talk about it a little bit more. But as it stands, this is a lovely, more oily and slick IPA from Verdant, so quite different to the other ones I've had. And if that sounds like your deal, it sounds like it would tick the boxes for you, have a go at this. This is nicely done. But yeah, I think that summarises the flavour profile of the beer quite nicely. In terms of the mouthfeel, like I said, this beer is quite slick and quite oily. I want to say it's at the top end of mid-bodied. Yeah, top end of mid-bodied. Carbonation is really carbonation is very, very smooth in this one. Really oily and slick beer for sure. In terms of hoppy bitterness, there's not a lot of bitterness to this one. I would say maybe 25 or 30 IBUs. You've got a nice spiciness from the Simcoe in this beer. So yeah, a little bit of bitterness, which I think gives the beer a good bit of contrast. The malt base has a bit of wheaty bitiness, but it's also quite smooth and bready and things in the middle, a little bit of oak character, and then the fruits are big and oily as well. But yeah, it's a lovely beer this. I certainly enjoyed trying this one, and it is quite different from the others I've had from Verdant before. And a little bit, you know, it was nice to see the contrast between the aroma and the flavour profile in this one as well. So yeah, thumbs up to Verdant Brewing Company for this. I do look forward to my next beer from these guys whenever that happens to be. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This was the Random Rules 6.5% New England IPA. Lovely big oily fruity character from the Kiwi and Aussie hops in this. It worked really, really well, and then Simcoe giving you a wee bit of spiciness. Awesome stuff. But yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Verdant Brewing Company, as always. If you do have a recommendation of a single hop Enigma beer, I would dearly love to have a go at that. And you know, do go and check out some of these Verdant Brewing Company beers if you haven't already. They are becoming more readily available since they've expanded into Penryn. But yeah, this one, the Random Rules IPA, 6.5% ABV from Verdant Brewing Company, formerly Falmouth in Cornwall, but now Penryn in Cornwall. Thank you again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and check out my social media. Let me know your thoughts, like I said, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and catch you guys on the next review.